Good evening and welcome back to Sportshire. I'm your host, Griff McClellan, and today I'm joined by Mary Ellen Miga, Ben Park, Will McCullough, and Timmy Keeler. Today's episode focuses on March Madness. First, we're going to discuss UMBC. Mary Ellen, what do you want to say about them?
So underdog that's making a name for themselves. So.
Totally, yes. They became the first 16 seed ever to knock off a 1 seed.
Right.
It's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Will, what else do you want to say?
Yeah, it was an absolutely crazy result. I mean, Virginia was odds-on favorite to win the whole thing, and for UMBC to come in not even winning the regular season conference, because that was UVM, and to come in and knock off an ACC powerhouse and national powerhouse like Virginia, that was crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, UMBC beat them by 20 points. They crushed them. Clearly, Virginia just couldn't get it done. UMBC owned them. Timmy, what else?
Well, I disagree with what's been said. I really think that it was a cool game.
Yeah. I wonder what the percent is of people who actually picked UMBC to win.
Probably
I-
pretty low.
I think I
because,
saw something where it was around 3% of the ESPN brackets.
Yeah,
had.
my guess is those people either went to the school or know people who went to the school that have some relation to it. But I had Virginia going to the national championship. My bracket was busted in day one.
I had them winning it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you had Virginia going to the Final Four?
Yeah, I had them winning it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
And I think it's just one of those games where you always play to your opponent's ability, and they came on that floor to play. As an underdog, and they had nothing to lose.
They didn't, no.
So they came out and showed them how they could do it.
Yeah.
I think one big factor for Virginia was losing their 6th man of the year. I mean, he won 6th man of the year in the ACC, and he was like a lot of what Virginia had offensively. So to lose those 9 points off the bench like that definitely hurt them.
Yeah, bench players can make a big difference, can't they?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another big first-round upset would be Buffalo, the 13th seed, knocking off the 4th seed Arizona. Will?
It was just another big upset, but a little less so for 13. I thought the efficiency of Buffalo's offense in that game was just crazy good. And then also, though, it kind of shows how weak the Pac-12 as a whole, the conference, was for Arizona to be number 1 in the conference and go down in the first round like that. I think it was definitely a disappointing year overall for that conference.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Another surprising team that went down the second round was Xavier, a number 1 overall seed. They were an 11th seed the year before. They shocked many and advanced to the Sweet 16, actually the Elite 8, but lost to Gonzaga. This year they were a 1 seed, but lost to Florida State in the round of 32. Ben, what do you think about that?
It's pretty surprising. I thought they'd go farther, and they didn't.
Yeah, 2 1 seeds from the left side of the bracket went down early. It's pretty shocking.
It's all about that bench and the scoring percentage, shooting percentage.
Yes. Another upset in the round of 32 was the defending national champion, UNC, losing to Texas A&M. Timmy, what do you think about that? Was it shocking?
Yeah.
Totally. I had UNC going pretty far. I had them reaching the Final Four. How about you? Did you have the same thing? No, they lost early.
I had them
see.
going pretty far.
Yeah, well, it's understandable because Texas A&M did something that really shocked UNC that whole game. They played full court pressure early on, and it really helped them pave way, and they ended up beating UNC by 21 points.
Right. Well, they definitely did their homework to know what, and scouted that team to know what strategy to use to try to outplay them, and they certainly did.
Yes, but also the NCAA hasn't had a repeat champion since the Florida Gators in 2006 and 2007. So obviously it's really hard to repeat these days.
Do you think it has to do with the way they seed people, or just the style of play or the players themselves?
It could be seeding. It also could be the loss of veterans. Coaches have to gain new players, and it's harder to win that way.
Well, I thought one of the most surprising things about that upset was how like senior laden that UNC team was, with Cameron Johnson, Joel Berry, and Luke May. I mean, those were like 3 quality veteran presences for that team, and I thought it was a really great upset for Texas A&M.
Yeah, they ended up losing to Michigan the next round, though. They got crushed by them.
Yeah.
But another first-round topic would be the committee's decision. Surprisingly, they chose Oklahoma over Oklahoma State. I find this pretty shocking because Oklahoma didn't win a single road game all year long. And Oklahoma State beat Kansas twice, Oklahoma twice. They beat West Virginia on the road. They beat all these big names. So I think they were clearly the better team. What do you think?
Well, personally, I think it was a pretty even decision. I don't think it was that lopsided that Oklahoma State was that better than Oklahoma. I mean, both teams finished 8-10 in Big 12 conference play. And also, Oklahoma did beat, I think, 4 or 5 top 10 ranked teams at the time throughout the season. So it's not like they lost every home game and were just, although the end of their season was dismal, they did play a really good beginning schedule. So it's tough for the committee to just discount that. But ultimately, I think that the teams were both pretty even, but then you have the Trae Young factor for Oklahoma, and that gets ratings.
That may have been a factor going into this decision. Trae Young, obviously, is a superstar, a big name. What do you think, Tim? Are you a Trae Young fan?
I don't really know Trae Young that much, but I've heard like good things about him, so.
Yeah, there are nights when he scores 45. There are nights when he scores 10. To me, he remains wildly inconsistent, and OU, in my opinion, is a one-man show. They rely on Trae Young. Oklahoma sets screens for him to shoot threes and get open shots. You can't rely on that these days. In my opinion, Oklahoma State was the better all-around team, which is why I think they should have gotten the nod to head to the tournament.
Yeah.
Ben, what else do you think?
Yeah, I think people want to see Trae Young play, and I think they're pretty evenly matched, but it definitely helped Oklahoma get the spot over Oklahoma State because everyone want to see Trae Young play.
And I think that's when it comes down to, it must be hard to seed the second half of the bracket.
Yes.
You know, it's down to that fine one game you might have played over a more top seed school. Must be a hard decision.
Yeah, just to add something to that, like recent debate has been about like should the committee let in Power 5 conferences with teams that have an under 500 conference percentage. Like both Oklahoma State and Oklahoma were 8-10 under 500. So, and Oklahoma got in, leaving mid-major schools that lost 7-5 games, like St. Mary's, they lost 5. And then Middle Tennessee State, and it's just punishing mid-majors who don't win their conference championship for mediocre Power 5 schools.
Yeah, Timmy, what would you say? Did Oklahoma State deserve it more?
I'm not really sure. I think it was kind of even like other people said, but
Yeah, we will never know.
Right.
That's
They had
true.
chosen Oklahoma State. We've moved on from it. OU, though, didn't have a big factor in the tournament. They lost in the round of 64
Great
to
game, though.
Rhode Island in overtime. That was
Produced
a great
game.
yeah.
Trae Young did come up clutch late. They
He
fell
did.
short, though.
Well, there's no denying he's a great player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just you got to consider the teams as a whole. And
Yeah.
Well, another great underdog story. Wow, there were so many this year. Before I get to this story, this tournament had more upsets than any other in history.
wow.
Craziest ever,
Wait,
according to
what is
ESPN. It's crazy. The underdog story is Nevada. They were a 7th seed. They upset the 2-ranked Cincinnati. They were down by 22 points and came back to win by 2 in the end. That was their first lead of the game.
Wow. Right at the end.
Yes. and they would later lose to Loyola Chicago, the biggest underdog story that we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Nevada's time came to an end against them. But Loyola, let's talk about them for a second. What a team they've been, especially late in the the second half.
Yeah.
Right.
They won their first 3 games by a combined total of 4 points. That's clutch. They hit a game winner against Miami, game winner against Tennessee, and a clutch 3 late against Nevada. What would you say about them?
Well, I always like to root for the underdog. I think when teams come in like that aren't favored to win, like I said before, they have nothing to lose and they put everything on the court and they just play great basketball. They just bring that game to another level.
Yeah, it's often the underdogs that end up doing really well because if you're a 1 seed, you're under more pressure to win, and everyone expects you to win. Loyola Chicago needed to win their conference tournament in order to get in. They had to win out, and you never heard of them before until they made it.
Right.
I had them winning their first game against Miami, but that was it. I didn't expect them to go any farther. How about you, Ben? Where'd you have them going?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing?
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, now they're headed to the Final Four, aren't they?
They were actually one of my favorite picks just based on like overall, like throughout the whole season, I'd looked at the numbers and they were just so efficient offensively and defensively. So they may have been seeded in 11, but the stats showed otherwise, and that could be a factor of weaker opposition, but they were definitely had a great offense and defense heading into this tournament. I actually picked them to the Sweet 16, but very few picked them to the Final Four, I'm sure.
Yes, only a small percentage did.
Yeah, like I agree with Mary Ellen. Like I do like to root for the underdog, and it was really cool to kind of see them like work their way up in March Madness, and I can't believe they made it to the Final Four considering they're an 11th seed.
Yeah, they're only the 4th, 11th seed in the history of the NCAA tournament to make it that far.
Yeah.
Just
Interesting fact.
heartbreaking
It
for
is.
Nevada after
Yeah.
coming back from 16 against Texas, 22 against Cincinnati, and then almost coming back against Loyola, but they showed a ton of
Yes.
heart this tournament.
Loyola played their best game of the tournament against Kansas State, another surprise team that made it to the Elite 8. They had a great run too. We don't talk about them as much, but they actually ended UMBC's run. They knocked off Kentucky, a usual powerhouse. But yeah, let's talk about the Sweet 16. This year's Sweet 16 was pretty interesting. We had some familiar faces gone, such as Xavier, UNC, Virginia, the #1 overall seed. But we had some new faces there, such as, well, obviously, Loyola Chicago, Nevada, Clemson, Texas Tech, teams like that. It's pretty interesting. What did you take from the Sweet 16?
Well, of course, like all the upsets were just unexpected as usual. I mean, I think coming into this year, we kind of knew because no one could really hold on to that '1 spot until Virginia late. But it was all shuffled throughout the 1 through 10 for the whole year. But yeah, it was just really unexpected, and we knew no team was really gonna solidify their spot as the team to beat.
Yeah, this is exactly why it's called March Madness. You can
Yeah.
never predict. According to the NCAA website, the odds of completing a perfect bracket are 1 in 9.2 quintillion.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes,
That's
that's
a lot.
why they offer those deals online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to win it.
Right.
Every year I'm so confident thinking that I got this, I'm going to win $1 million, and it gets busted on the first day.
Right.
It's so easy to call on paper.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, now as we move on to the Elite 8, it's pretty interesting. Kansas State, Loyola Chicago, and Florida State all made the Elite 8. This is the first time in tournament history where 3 teams seeded 9th or lower make the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament. Ben, what do you have to say about this?
I think it's a great year for the underdogs. There's tons of upsets in the tournament, and I think they make for some really good games where the underdogs win against like more powerful, more experienced teams.
Yes, and according to ESPN, 17.3 million brackets were filled out online. Only 349 of those picked Michigan, Florida State, Loyola Chicago, and Kansas State to make the Elite 8.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy. I mean, this tournament could not have been predicted
Yeah.
either way. Let's now reflect on the biggest matchup of the tournament, Timmy. Duke versus Kansas.
Yeah, that was a really crazy game. I was watching it with my mom, and my mom like really wanted Duke to win, but
Yes?
I wanted Kansas. I don't know why. I just kind of like their name better because I don't really like know many stats, so I just kind of pick and like which names I like better. But it was a really, really good game. It was really close too.
Yes, that was a great game all throughout.
Yeah.
Both teams are coached extremely well. Mike Krzyzewski and Bill Self have both had great careers.
Yeah.
Both incredibly well respected. Duke and Kansas were seeking history. Duke was seeking its 17th Final Four, and Kansas was seeking its 15th. What do you guys take about the ending of that game with Grayson Allen's shot that rimmed out twice? I couldn't believe that went out. I thought Duke was going to the Final Four.
I know, crazy, absolutely crazy finish. Personally, going into that game, I thought Duke was definitely the better team and was going to come out on top. But Kansas, I mean, surprised me. I thought they were one of the weaker one seeds besides Xavier, and they've played great all tournament.
Yeah, they especially came up really clutch against Duke in that game. Duke was favored, but Kansas was the 1 seed. So in my opinion, they ought to have won that game. But at the same time, Duke, yes, they were favored. They almost won that game. It was close.
I mean, the guard play by Frank Mason's third, and just overall the whole team. They have a really strong big man down low. Just great.
Yeah, this is also the 7th straight year where the tournament featured at least one 1 versus 2 matchup. So yes, we've talked about all the upsets and all the 11 seeds and the 12 seeds and even the first 16 seed.
Right.
But overall, we do end up with the best teams in the Final Four who've proved that they can make it to this spotlight and that they can make it all the way.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, now let's preview the Final Four. The time has come.
Yeah.
The teams are Loyola Chicago in their second Final Four, but their first appearance since 1963.
Ooh.
Michigan in its first Final Four since 2013 and its 8th overall. Villanova for the second time in 3 years. They were the 2016 national champions. As we all remember, Chris Jenkins hit the game winner. Remember that game?
Yeah.
Of course, classic, instant classic.
Who knows? Maybe something similar might happen in a week from now.
Yeah.
It's been a great tournament so far. It'd be fitting to have a great ending as well.
Yes, I agree. And the last team, Kansas. First appearance since 2012, and like I said earlier, they're 15th overall. What are your guys' predictions?
Okay, so I have to decide. I think I'm going with Kansas.
Kansas.
I think I'm going with Kansas. I think when you get this deep into the tournament, yes, you have to have good players. You have to have a bench. You have to have a good coach. And there has to be a coach that can inspire people with that perseverance, that you just got to keep going for this last game. So.
Yes. Great. I can't wait to see what happens. Might be right there. How about you, Ben?
I have to say Villanova. They're very good on both offense and defense. They're coached well. They have a good bench, and they've proven how they can win championships.
Cool. You're a Jay Wright fan?
I mean, I like Duke, but
Yeah.
out of the 4, I think Villanova's the best.
Cool. How about you, Will?
Well, in the Loyola Michigan game, that's so tough just because of how Loyola has played so far this tournament. But you also have to look at Michigan's win streak going into this game, and I think it's a tough call. But I've got Michigan on one side, and then on the other side, I think Villanova is just too good. I mean, if you look at their scoring margin over their past wins so far in this tournament, I think they're the best team in it, and that's why I think Villanova will beat Kansas and then beat Michigan in the final.
All right. Cool. How about you, Timmy?
I'm thinking that Loyola, I want them to win because,
Really? You have
Yeah.
them beating Michigan.
yeah, I do because I just really like their story, how like they're an underdog team and they rise like in the ranks and they're doing like really well. And I think they also have a pretty inspiring like pep talk or like the nun.
Yes.
Like
Sister Jean
There.
Dolores
Yes.
Schmidt.
Sister
How can
Jean.
How could we forget about her?
Yeah.
She's been their inspiration all tournament long.
Because
hasn't she?
I feel like she's gonna have something really inspirational to say to them, and then they're just gonna like pull out an amazing game and win.
Yeah, they've come this far in the tournament. You can't see them losing.
I know.
I can't.
All
I
right,
know I'll be
and-
cheering for them for
Yeah.
Yeah, you
sure.
will?
I think Villanova's going to win it, but I'll be cheering for Loyola all the way.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. And who do you have winning Villanova, Kansas?
I'm gonna have to go with Kansas, just because I've rooted for them before. So I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
with Kansas.
And you have
yeah.
Loyola beating Kansas in the championship.
Yes, definitely.
All right, time for my prediction.
We're waiting.
It's been an interesting tournament. We've seen some upsets. This is the most unpredictable Final Four ever, and I didn't think anything could top last year's Final Four mix.
Right.
Gonzaga, South Carolina, both in their first.
First time.
Oregon for the first time since the first tournament in 1939, and then there's UNC, a familiar face there. Anyways, that was last year. Now this year, I'm going to pick Michigan to beat Loyola. Yes, Loyola is a great underdog story. They've come this far, but I think Michigan overall is the better team. They're more experienced, and I think they're going to beat Loyola. And for the Villanova-Kansas game, I'm picking Kansas. I think, yes, they are underdogs. Villanova's heavily favored, but I think Kansas is going to pull it off. And the championship game is going to be Michigan-Kansas. I'm going with the Kansas Jayhawks to bring it home. We all know what happened the last time the Final Four was hosted in San Antonio. The Kansas Jayhawks pulled off one of the greatest championship runs of all time. They were down by 9 to Memphis in that game. Mario Chalmers hit an incredible game-tying, actually, 3, and then Kansas ended up winning in overtime. But yeah, that's who I pick. I pick the Kansas Jayhawks.
Nice.
I agree.
All right, what do you guys say? Are you excited for the Final Four?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Can't wait.
All right, cool, awesome. Well, thank you for watching Sportshire. I hope you all enjoy March Madness and look forward to seeing the Final Four happen this weekend. Go Jayhawks. We'll see you next time.